The Shin Show. Today's guest, Director Jayil Park.
The fan question was, in the recent interview, you spoke about how documentary changed your initial perception of K-pop idol as not humble.
I mean, as a documentarian, like when they say they're very candid on camera, you're excited, but it was from the get-go. Like every member was so honest. In fact, like Utah was almost too honest that I mean, I was excited that he was this honest. At that point, I didn't know how much would get edited out. But I knew even some of the stuff that Utah said. I was like, okay, I can't include it as documentary.
Yeah,
so that's how I knew the fact that they were speaking to me like a human being, and not like a superstar. I think even the fans watching the documentary would feel that way. I mean, after watching the history of their past, that a lot of them have humble beginnings. So it's not nepotism. They got here based on hard work and dedication. Every single member.
Next question is, a few of the members' stories revolve around personal artifacts and items from their family. For example, Jungwoo's letter from his mother was shown, and some photos. So what was the process like to obtain them?
Well, I think a good story always has like a symbolic object, right? And it happened naturally. I mean, I guess for Mark, it was the knight in a chessboard because there's a story about him being very competitive. The knight also connects with Cheon's story and also Jungwoo's story, because Cheon talked about just being like a racehorse all the time, and also Jungwoo talks about riding horses. We found these objects and try to connect them with all the other members. And there's like Utah with the butterfly. Obviously, it's a popular song by him. Also, butterfly. I mean, you see it. The Easter egg is like, you see the butterfly throughout the series. So yeah, and obtaining the objects, it's like they would contact the parents, and the parents, a lot of the family members, they had a good time too. It was a emotional experience for them, like looking back on the past. And I remember Mark talking about like looking at family photos for the first time in a long time, So we're all like digging in the past and finding these objects, and the parents were kind enough to send us the actual photos and the actual objects. And does that answer the question?
Yeah, it does. And I think it helped a lot, especially in the animation as well. We had to kind of make sure that as a child, what they look like. We had to there was a great reference for the animators too.
Yeah, I mean, how detailed the animators got was like, if you look at even Taeyong's story, that red bus in the background that passes by is the red bus that Jungwoo always used to take to during his trainee days. It's just that sequence got cut, so people won't know it. But a lot of the animations are interconnected. Like even like an animation that got cut from Jungwoo's story is he always get like manwon, like $10 from his mom, and he would go to the convenience store to eat. And we had connected that with Utah's store, where Utah's in the convenience store. That got cut too, but I guess that's the theme. Like a lot of stuff got cut, but but I think there are important objects in the story, and it was very fun, obtaining those items. All of them were returned properly. Yeah.
And also, the main cast playing is young Mark and Taeyong look alike them. Did you actually try to find young talents who possessed similar features as the members, or was another attribute or like acting skills, or what was the primary focus?
Okay, so finding similar people is so easy. The difficult part is finding similar looking people that are good actors. Our second AD did a phenomenal job. It's all her. She found Seoha, who plays
young Mark.
Our production manager found
Young
Taeyong, and I think our team did a phenomenal job. And I personally hate it when I see like a movie, like I'm a big fan of Once Upon a Time in America, and you like Robert De Niro's younger self, and there's all these different casts. It's such an amazing movie, but I'm just like, man, none of the younger parts look like them, and that's one of my pet peeves. So we cared so much about finding people that look like the younger versions of the members.
I think the fact that we did this in such a short amount of time was almost like, to me, it was like almost like a miracle.
Like Mark says, destiny.
Yeah.
You found us on Instagram.
Yeah.
I don't know what like I was asking you to find it, and you were having a hard time, and then she was like, "What about this person?" And it turns out this by the way, young Mark Soha, such a cute kid, but also extremely talented. Such an amazing actor. Yeah.
Very mature for his age. Like his level of concentration is incredible. He really understood, and he was actually like, it's not you telling him, like he was actually having a conversation, was trying to understand what you want from him.
Yeah.
And that was really incredible to see
Also,
for a young kid.
When he was playing chess, that's actually a famous game. I'm not going to give away the Easter egg. I mean, if there's any chess fan out there that's also an NCT 127 fan, if you look at the particular game that Mark plays, it's a very famous match. And Seohat had learned not only chess, but memorized the moves, you know?
Yeah. And I'd personally like to thank his mom as well, because she really made sure that, Seohat took his time and, came to the office and, rehearsed the chess playing.
Yeah.
The Shin Show.
So, which member of NCT 127 did you had to try extra hard to break the barrier for them to really open up to you?
Well, when you interview somebody, like, I mean, obviously everyone has different personalities, but generally speaking, like, everyone was so candid and thoughtful and honest. So that was very surprising. But the thing is, everyone has different personalities. I mean, Tae's known to not want to disclose too much about his family. Chan, who's the Bangnae, who's the youngest member of NCT 127, was surprisingly the most grown up. The way he spoke during their interviews, we could have probably done the whole series just with Haechan's interviews, because he was like a 70-year-old wise man speaking. He had so many quotable lines. And so Haechan, being the Bangnae and the cute Bangnae, he sounded like a 70-year-old wise man. So there's that. Johnny was obviously hilarious. Yuta was just honest, too honest. But,
So another fan question is, some of the members have debuted as an actor, but not all of them. Did you face any challenges while directing, since NCT 127 members are mostly not an actor? How did you work with them, each of them, to get the best performance?
They're not and I've worked with so many actors, that we work together, and there are many bad actors. Like, I mean, especially when you're doing like short films like I have, or you do commercials, or you even do like independent features, you're not going to always get like that top celebrity actor, or that talented actor. I would say, generally speaking, all of them are better than most Korean actors. And I don't know, it's a compliment, like the compliment to NCT, but the diss is actually to the Korean industry. There's so many bad actors in the industry. So I was so fortunate that all of them were great. Like Taeyong, obviously, there's this hashtag going around, like, manifest Taeyong as an actor. But Haechan, amazing. You didn't even need a second take. Mark, the charisma. Like, actually, all of them, I think at a certain point, they can become an actor. Yuta, obviously, already was in high and low. So from my personal experience was that they were all had better actings than some of the actors I've worked with. So
I think there's kind of that image, like they don't like idols becoming actors in the acting industry in Korea. Like they think that they use the popularity and things like that.
Yeah.
But I think there's a certain level of skills and talent that they have.
Yeah, I think that's the qualm that most NCT fans have, is that since there's 9 members, you don't get to see how talented each member is. You know what I mean? Like, it's like what we were talking about the other day. Like, oh my God, like, it's not just Do-young and Tae that are phenomenal singers. I mean, Haechan has an amazing voice, By the way, like, in between takes, you can hear Taeyong singing. Like, he's just singing because he's just for fun. Taeyong's not just a rapper. He's a talented singer.
Yeah.
Like, he sings these high notes. Like, Johnny's a talented singer. It's just that there's 9 members, and you can't see all these facets of their talent. I mean, Yuta, obviously, his sensibilities, his taste is so eclectic. He listens to a lot of rock music as well, and he could do rock. And so I feel like a lot of the time, like, we're surprised that, is that K-pop member a great actor? It's just that we don't get to see these other sides to them. Even in the music, we don't get to see it. So, exactly. I mean, I don't think it's surprising that these members are good actors. But, I mean, yeah, you're right. There are a lot of K-pop bands where they're not good actors. But I would say most of the time it's when they're just not even good singers either. You know, but NCT 127, they're all good singers.
I think NCT 127, they really are a performance team. Like they really shine on stage. I think that's where they really shine. And even in the interview, they were mentioning like how they love being on stage because that's where they know that they can really show their talent in their true colors.
Yeah. So sometimes in a way, like I agree with the fans when they say it's a little bit too neo. You know, like maybe this documentary is too neo as well, but like, you know, it's like neo culture technology, but me and you were making a joke. It's like, maybe we don't want neo culture technology. Maybe we just want regular culture technology. And that would be enough, because if you look at every member, we don't need that flash. Like if you just show them the way they are, they're already, you know, so special. I mean, every member has unique talents. You know?
Yeah, exactly. From now, we would like to talk about each part of this, the members, about their stories and their performances. So the first question is, why were Mark and Haechan the only ones in pajamas? Is it simply because they're both the youngest of the group, or is there another meaning?
Well, there's like the tiger and the bear that people noticed, but there's like also the story of Tangun Harabaji, and Tangun Harabaji is like this myth of how Korea was created. That there was this bear and then tiger in a cave. You know, the Korean god said, "We'll make you a human being if you could eat this garlic for a certain amount of days." And what happened was the bear, you know, was more patient, but the tiger is like he couldn't handle it, and he was the more rambunctious personality, but the bear was more calm. And we thought it's hilarious because that's sort of the relationship that Haechan and Mark had in the trainee days. Mark was this like model student. Haechan was a troublemaker and mischievous, you know, like very cheeky. So it's funny because, you know, the bear pajamas should actually be Mark, and the tiger pajamas should be actually Haechan. But we switched it because of those animals being their particular symbols. But the pajamas had to do with the fact that because what do you do when you wear pajamas? You go to bed, right? And after you go to bed, what do you do? What do you do after you sleep? There. The performance that we had for both members, the initial idea, and it was the head writer's idea. Head writer is like mom. She was very ethical and she cared about the members. The performance we wanted for Mark was we wanted to just put him to bed. Yeah. We wanted to not put him to bed like, you know, take him to the mattress and kill him, but like have him sleep. Yeah. So we loved it when we were shooting with Mark and Haechan. Most of the time it's like, just sleep. Yeah. You know? So the performance we wanted to do for 24 hours was we wanted to have Mark just sleep in bed, but they didn't have time for that. Yeah, exactly. Because they were so busy with the schedules. Like, can we, because in the middle of that, they were like, oh, so can we sleep for like 4 hours here and come back and then sleep like a couple days later, sleep like 6 hours? It was like, that's not going to work, right? So, I mean, they're in two different units and they're so busy. So the performance idea that Nayan had was, wow, just let him sleep. And we thought the fans would love it. And I think that's where we got the ideas for the pajamas.
The Shin Show.
Next question is, Haechan's story moved me so much, and I'm happy to be his fan and see his growth as an artist, as a person. Seeing this side of him in the documentary is Dong-hyuk with his family, and especially learning about his relationship with his mother was very, very emotional. Was what we saw in the documentary his first reaction to his mother's voice in the tape?
There was this like invisible line between fiction and nonfiction that people think that this is scripted, but I want to tell people that even what Dong-hyuk says, even what Haechan says in the hypnosis scene, those are his words. We didn't write it. He said it in the off-the-record interviews, and he just repeated those words. We just added the fictional element with the hypnotist kid, who, by the way, happens to be also young Mark. Yeah. So what Haechan says there is his actual words that I'm stuck at 14. He always said that. So when we're doing the fictitious parts, we always want to surprise the members with reality, you know. So we did surprise Haechan by playing that in the studio. So that is actually Haechan's real response to his mom sending him this, tape, this letter. So and he said that he told me it was he was holding back tears the whole time, and Fortunately, he had his eyes closed, which makes it more difficult for you to cry. So that did help him. I think he said it, or it was a head writer. I think it's Haechan that said it. But so that was the actual real reaction.
So this one's about Jongwoo. Is there any hidden meaning behind certain set properties like color palettes or costume choices? Referring to Jongwoo's clown costume is a traditional clothing, a Korean costume.
Yeah, I think we did the Korean flag. I mean, if you look at the colors in the set, it's the Korean flag. And throughout the entire series, we have the main color of SM, which is pink. And then there's the main, NCT 127 green color, so there's thought behind that. But in Jongwoo, we had the Korean flag.
Okay, for this one is Johnny.
Okay.
I'm curious why NCT 127 did not go to Johnny's photo exhibition. I love the beautiful words and art for Johnny, but I thought it would be cute to see their reaction too. Can you explain more about that decision? Was it a scheduling issue or simply not needed for the narrative?
I, at a certain point, thought that the documentary is impossible because they're so busy. And despite making a documentary about NCT 127, it's almost like we have to all line up and wait our turn to get time with NCT 127. It's almost like we're being a fan on a line. Inevitably, there's a scheduling issue with any any K-pop band. So that was always there. But at the same time, we did decide that the members not being there would be more special because it's just Johnny experiencing it by himself, And if the members came out later, and it would have been great if the members are hidden and they came out later, but getting all the members in one room was so difficult, like throughout the year,
Yeah, I mean, I remember because I had to secretly get them to draw Johnny.
Yeah.
During the concerts.
Yeah.
And so we had to drag them like secretly out and get them in this private room, and it's like, hey, can you do this? And because we didn't want Johnny to notice.
Yeah,
it's very difficult to keep a secret with these close 9 members and just trying to convince them, don't tell Johnny.
The interesting thing is and Johnny thinks that he's secretly taking photos of the members.
Yeah.
And actually, in fact, it's the opposite, that the members are secretly drawing him.
Yeah, exactly.
So and they were so busy, they had to draw in between. But I think they did a phenomenal job.
Yeah. But one memorable member of the drawing is Tail. I mean, his choice of object or whatever he's drawing was just so hilarious. I remember he was the first guy I asked.
If you look at the paintings, only Tails has 2 of Johnny.
Yeah.
Every other member is just one version. The reason this Tails drawing is the painting is, it's like you look at Johnny, looks like he's sick.
Yeah.
But no, it was endearing. In the end, we included both versions.
Yeah.
And he drew a ghost. I was like, a ghost?
It was a natural reaction.
Yes, of course.
A ghost?
I drew him as a ghost. It's like, you want Johnny dead? It's like, no, a soulmate.
Yeah.
The Shin Show.
All right, this one is about Taeyong.
Yeah.
In the final episode, it is revealed that Taeyong played a role in many of the members' stories. Was it intentional? If so, how did you make that decision? Well,
one thing that I would like the fans to know is that all the performances weren't random. I mean, we discussed it with the members. Also, we wanted to have the performances be thematic. For instance, we wanted Tae to, sing in a taxi because we wanted to connect it to the father, but also Tae's not like a member that's been in a spotlight often, So we wanted, because he has an amazing voice, one of the most talented singers in the group. So we wanted to give him a platform for that. Toyoung, 도망가자, like Run With Me, that song is iconic among his fans on Bubble, where they always request that song from him. All the performances that the members do are thematically driven. It's not random. And in Taeyoung's case, the reason why we decided together with Taeyoung that he would be in other people's stories is because in prior interviews, Taeyoung had said that he had a difficult time relating with other people, and he even says it in the documentary, and the reason being he has such a traumatic past. Like, I mean, the Taeyoung story in the documentary is beautiful, but that's actually a really PG version of his real life. I mean, inevitably, we want a lot of audiences to see it. So, some details get cut. A lot of crucial details get cut sometimes. And Taeyong has one of the most traumatic childhoods of any member. And due to that, I think Taeyong expressed this inability to relate to other people on a personal level sometimes. And Taeyong had, during a concert, I was so glad when he expressed that, in the first year, you learned this, second year, you learned this, third year, you learned this, but in the seventh year, he learned how to love. And I thought that's so amazing because after being turned down by his first love, he had this fear of confessing his love for other people, expressing love for other people. And the fact that maybe through the documentary a little bit, I think a documentary had some part to play in that development. I was so glad to hear that he was more open to express his love for other people. And I think that's what's expressed by him being in other people's stories, that now there's no longer a barrier between him and other people. And he's trying to understand his members more as a leader of the group. And I think him being in other people's stories, he was excited about it, and we were excited too. And through that, he was able to see the world through their eyes, So I think even Utah talked about it. Like Utah said, in his radio show, he said he was surprised by other people's stories. Like this member went through this. Oh, they thought of this. So Taeyong, knowing about the other members' stories, I think he was able to develop more as a person, not just as a K-pop star.
I think it was really the documentary was beautifully wrapped up because of that what he said in the last show of the Seoul concert.
Yeah,
I think that's the beauty of documentary.
Yeah, like reality somehow comes together, And I think, and then there's that cross. There's that green cross that he drew for, when he was confessing his love for the girl. And then you see that same love letter to all the members, in their various locations. I feel that it beautifully came together with that last monologue at the end where he says, I learned how to love in the seventh year.
Yeah. What a beautiful scene.
Yeah, yeah. Well, by the way, that whole monologue where he talks about, not just in the improvisational scenes were all them, but even the whole entire monologue where he talked about, his children wearing the masks of adults, and that entire sequence at the end, that is all Taeyong. Not a single word was by us.
Exactly. Yeah. What was the mood and main focus that you tried to convey after listening to Taeyong's stories, either from the clips chosen, animation, or the sound, which is music?
Well, like I said, like you start with their stories, the story that Taeyong wants to share, and we listened to the various stories that he shared, and the head writer and I were so moved by his story during his middle school, because you want to have one coherent story and one story that wraps up nicely, for the short medium, because it's like one part of one episode. So the song chosen, we thought it was so thematically related to his experience in middle school. Through music, he was able to overcome his harsh past, and I think that's what we wanted to focus on, and because there's this amazing moment where he's singing a song and all the fans have a different light, not green, but it's like a different light. It's almost like, and Taeyong says that for him music was like light, and we always wanted to connect the fans in some way. So like if you see him talking about music being like almost a source of light to him, you see the fans with their phones. Also the animator, I want to thank Sasha. Sasha did an amazing job. And also the fact that we focused on paper, because like when you're doing, like in Taeyong's story, everyone's like voting using paper. And then later crumpled up paper becomes like a negative symbol where like Taeyong disappears from his chair and it's all like, it's a pile of crumpled up paper. But then later when he's at the, 수련회, he's at the talent show in high school, you see, paper airplanes flying everywhere. And that was a nice touch, and paper airplanes, it wasn't random either. I mean, in the Link concert, there for one song, you have the paper airplanes flying. So, yeah.
The Shin Show.